Citizens Participation Committee meeting. We're going to go ahead and start by calling the roll to make sure that I have down everyone who's in attendance. So I have Jim Beatty.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
All right. Lynn Nelson
Yes.
and Nick Harvey.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm on.
Okay. All right. Very good. And then am I missing anyone? If I've missed you, please go ahead and speak up now. All right, looks like that's all that we have with us for now. If we have someone join in progress, we will go ahead and make a note of that. But for the time being, so the first thing that we would look at is the minutes from the last meeting. So I would entertain a motion to accept those.
This is Lynn, so moved.
Okay, we have a motion. And then if I could get a second, please. Okay, so I think that's Jim raising his hand to signify a second, I believe. All right, so we have a motion and a second. So without any further corrections, we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote here. So if you're in favor of approving the minutes, Jim? Okay, I see him raising his hand there. Lynn?
Yes.
And Nick? Okay, and I see Nick's hand as well. All right, so the motions pass. The minutes are approved. So with that, we're going to go ahead and hop into our program for tonight. So we have with us Doug Pote, our Senior Transportation Planner, who's going to talk to us about our Transportation Improvement Program and some of the transportation projects that you're going to be seeing in the next few years in our community. So Doug, please go ahead and take over.
Thank you, Tim. Good evening, everyone. Excited this evening to introduce to you a new project that we have started actually a few months ago, back in October. And if you're ever wondering, every time you purchase gas for your automobile, that a small portion of those funds goes to the Federal Highway Trust Fund. Question is that have you ever wondered how those funds come back to us and which projects receive those funds? Well, tonight I'm going to give you some information that will answer those questions. We are required, just like other large cities around the United States, to develop what we call the Transportation Improvement Program, or us transportation planners like to use the acronym TIP. So if I refer to that acronym, that's what I mean, the Transportation Improvement Program. And this is a requirement by the bill or the Infrastructure Improvement Act that was just passed last year, and then all of the previous acts that were passed basically actually back into the 80s. And all of the large cities basically have a metropolitan planning organization, and we are to look at projects and look at the amount of transportation funds that we receive from the gas tax and allocate those funds wisely. And it's somewhat of an elaborate process, a little more than just sitting down around the table and saying you're going to receive these funds or this project is going to receive these funds. It's, of course, all done in the public preview. So tonight is an introduction to the process and to give you an idea of it, and also to give you an idea of projects that are coming up. The development schedule, as you see here, is what we are working from. And this is due because not only do we have to develop a TIP, but the Indiana Department of Transportation has to develop one itself. And they are looking to have theirs done by June. So that means we have to have basically our draft done in February and have our policy board, which is the board that oversees the MPO work, adopted by May. So it's a very short timeline in terms of getting this whole document completed. But we've done it in the past, and I'm fairly confident that we'll do it again. To kind of give you a little more background information, the Transportation Improvement Program is normally developed every other year. So we're coming up on this one, and so is the Indiana Department of Transportation. And we're again rolling it out so you know what's going on and have some information. As you can see on the timetable that is on screen, the first date that is shown is October 19th. And that is actually when we sent information out to the local governments, the cities of Lafayette, West Lafayette, Tippecanoe County, and to the towns of Battleground, Dayton, and Clarks Hill. And these local government agencies are eligible to apply for federal gas tax funds to use for road improvements, trail improvements, and so forth. Now, as you see, the second line, December 9th, the project programming sheets, we asked that each local government agency tell us which projects they would like to use these gas tax for. And of course, that was last Friday. And good news is that the cities of Lafayette, West Lafayette, and Tippecanoe County did submit requests for federal funds. And we did not receive any requests from the smaller towns, which is usually typical. The town of Clarks Hill has never used gas tax funds that I'm aware of, and the towns of Battleground and Dayton have in the past. So, going back to our schedule, the next step is actually this week, in that we start rolling out to the public that we are developing the TIP, and then present the proposed projects that are from the local government agencies as well as from the Indiana Department of Transportation. So this is the very first public meeting in which this information is being presented. So you hear it first. You'll be able to tell everyone that now you have a good idea what's going to happen in the next 5 years. So coming up later this month, of course, we have a couple other things that will occur next month or next week with the Technical Transportation Committee, and then with the city bus endorsing their transit part, because city bus actually uses federal transit funds. They actually receive funds from a trust fund set up by the Federal Transit Administration, and those monies are used for operating the system and then also for capital projects. The one date that I'd like to point out that is very critical, as you see on the list, January 18th, the Technical Transportation Committee. That's when, at the committee meeting, we will sit down and look at all of the requests for federal transportation funds. And this is only for highway funds. They are what we call complete street compliant. The cities, the county, the area plan commission, and also the small towns adopted a complete street policy so that when a new road or a road is being reconstructed, they must take into account all of the other modes of transportation, and that includes cyclists, pedestrians, and transit riders, specifically those three groups. And we will see if they do or do not. And then we will also look at environmental justice issues. This is another important thing. We will look at each project and see how that project would impact those specific groups. Now, during the tech committee meeting, we will then look at the requests and then actually prioritize them and basically lay out which projects get federal funds. Unfortunately, we do not have enough federal funds for all of the requests. We receive approximately $7 million a year, which sounds like a lot, but if you look at how much a project actually costs, considering the engineering aspect of it, the purchasing of any additional needed property, and then actually construction, those projects can cost anywhere from 10 to $20 million. Very expensive. There are some projects that actually are so expensive that they have to be constructed in 2 or 3 phases. And then once that committee actually reviews and makes their recommendations, then we will put the draft together and then start rolling out the participation actually the information, the document itself. So this committee next year will actually see the document, and then we'll actually get to see what was decided upon at the January Technical Transportation Committee meeting. And I'd like to point out that that meeting is open to the public, and it will be streamed live, both Facebook and on YouTube. So if you have any interest in actually sitting in and listening to the process, you're more welcome to do that. The more people that we have involved, especially comments and questions, that's great. We love public comment. So now, basically, this whole process that we're going through, again, we would like to get the draft document completed in February and then start the approval process and hopefully have it adopted by what we call our policy board in May. Now, the two critical pieces of information that probably everybody is mostly interested in are the project lists. And Tim, if you could go to one of those first, I'd like to briefly touch upon those. And this is the list of local projects. And these are the projects that basically the city of Lafayette, West Lafayette, Tippecanoe County, and not only them, but also City Bus and then the Purdue University Airport anticipate in the next 5 years. Now, there's some parts of it that will not occur until later, but this gives you an idea of the big projects coming up. Now, these tables have some interesting information that I'd like to point out. Let's look at the first one under the city of Lafayette, 3rd and 4th Streets. This project will occur between Alabama Street, which is basically on the south side of downtown Lafayette, all the way to Fannin Drive, which is there at the Harrison Bridge interchange. And they are looking at converting the one-way street system to a two-way street system so that 3rd Street and 4th Street will both be two ways. And PM stands for performance measure. This falls under one of the 7 performance measures. And this is a requirement by the Federal Highway Administration that we have to identify that. Now, the column that says PH, that stands for phase. PE stands for preliminary engineering. This is where they actually design the basic blueprints for the improvement. RW is what we call right of way. If there's any additional land that's needed, this is the phase where that additional land is purchased. And then finally, the most important one is CN construction. Now, we also have next to that what we call fund code. And in the tip, it gives you a breakdown of what all these acronyms mean. Like L13 means a certain type of fund, like whether it could be TIF money, whether it could be local road and street funds or whatnot. And then we also have other ones, as you can see on the list later down, like in the Big Four Trail, emergency vehicle preemption, PR, CRTA, HSIP. These are all different types of federal funds, which have different meanings and are applicable to only certain projects. For example, one of them that you see here on South 9th Street, STBG, is Surface Transportation Block Group Funds. And this is the largest category of funds that we receive, approximately $6 million a year. And this can go to a lot of projects. It has the least amount of restrictions. Now, up above that, the emergency vehicle preemption, that has a little acronym there, HSIP. Those are safety funds, and they can only be used for projects that will improve the safety, whether it be for an intersection, a road, or whatnot. Kind of exciting that a project that was just recently um, let for construction is a safety project, and it is located at McCutcheon High School. Um, Years ago, we did a study in that area, and unfortunately, there were a number of students who were hit trying to cross Old US 231. And this safety project is actually going to address improvements so that children that attend both the elementary school that's located around the corner and the high school can safely walk to school. So that's a very exciting project that will actually see construction occur next year. Some other ones you see, PR, that's what we call protect funds. It's a special category. It's a new category. CR, carbon reduction, and this is funds that we can use to actually try to reduce our carbon footprint, transportation wise. And then TA, transportation alternative. These funds can be used for alternative transportation such as trails. So the first page here, you see projects from the city of Lafayette. The first one is looking at converting the 3rd and 4th Street. The second project is the Big Four Trail. Not too long ago, a study was done at looking at extending the Big Four Trail. If you are not familiar with it, if you are know anything regarding Boone and Clinton County, those counties and also the towns within those two counties have been working on this project for many, many years. And the Big Four Trail actually extends, I believe, pretty much from Zionsville all the way to Colfax. There are a couple areas that are not connected, but pretty soon you will be able to use an old railroad corridor that has been converted to a trail um, to actually go from basically Colfax to Indianapolis or the other way. Now we're looking at what to do here within Tippecanoe County, and eventually the Big Four Trail will head to the northeast and as we hope at some point connect with the trail system in Delphi. The next project that the city would like to do is what we call emergency vehicle preemption, and this involves the 80 involves 80 traffic signals within Lafayette, so that when emergency vehicles are going to a location where they're needed, the traffic signals will either let stay green and let them go through, stop everybody else, turn green for them, and it basically assists vehicles in shortening the travel time it would take to get to the location. A new project that we just received, and this is interesting in that if you see here, we have three other categories or three other columns. We have federal funds, local funds, and total cost. If a project is wanting to use federal funds, they would have a dollar amount in the federal funds. But if it's not like this McCarty Lane project, they would just have the amount identified in local funds and total cost. So the project at McCarty Lane, and basically this is intersection improvements at Creasy Lane. They are looking to fund these improvements by using only local funds. And then one last column I'd like to point out, the anticipated year, 2026, 2027, 2028. These years are not calendar years, which makes it a little bit confusing. They are basically following the state fiscal year, which the state fiscal year begins July 1st and then runs through June 30th. So fiscal year 2026 begins fiscal year or July 1st of 2025. So somewhat confusing, but it's been like that for the 30 plus years that I've worked here at Area Plan. Going on, Park East Boulevard. This would be the construction of the last piece of Park East, and then also along with this would be the connection to the St. Francis Way, which would eventually connect to Creasy Lane, a project that actually has been in the works right now, South 9th Street, improving that from Brick and Wood to Veterans Memorial. South Street, this is a project that the city has been thinking about, and that we're actually doing what we call a road safety. And this is between Sagamore Parkway to I-65. Basically, what they would like to do is to turn it from what we call a rural cross section. Because if you ever driven that, you'll notice that there are no sidewalks, there are no curbs, there's no trail. And even for transit patrons, you either have to wait in the grass or wait on the shoulder. Um, so this is basically a project that they're wanting to do to change the whole entire setting to make it a complete street so people can walk along it, wait for the bus safely. Now, there's no time frame for this right now. It's on their radar, but they don't know when they're exactly going to do it, but they do want to do it. And finally, Veterans Memorial Parkway. As you know, on the south side, a good portion of Veterans Memorial is 4 lanes travel. It's been planned for many, many years that eventually Veterans Memorial on the south side and on the east side will be 4 lanes. This is the next step. This would be taking it and widening it to 4 travel lanes from US 52 to the railroad overpass. So that bit of section just east of 52 is on the city's radar. The next project or next section is City of West Lafayette, and I'll go through those. Of course, Cherry Lane Extension. This is what the city would like to do with Cherry Lane. A few years back, they completed the extension of Cherry Lane, and this would be improving the other part of Cherry Lane all the way to Northwestern Avenue and beginning actually the engineering of it in a couple years. If you could go to page 2, Tim, please. Thank you. The next project is Cumberland Avenue. This is a short section, basically US 52 to a quarter mile just west of 52 or Sagamore Parkway, and basically reconstructing that section. As pretty much everything else has been reconstructed both west and east of this, and this is the last section. So the city is wanting to do this. And again, if you notice, they're going to use only local funds for this. Now, this is a big project coming up next, Soldiers Home Road. And this is basically improving it from Sagamore Parkway to Calbear Road. And there's also another portion of that just south of Sagamore Parkway. As you can see, and if you look at the construction costs, just that, for phase 1, the total cost of just the road portion is over $9 million, and then for phase 2, it's over $8 million. A very expensive project, but basically this would be totally reconstructing that section of Soldiers Home Road, and the plans are right now is to reconstruct those ramps, the westbound on and off ramp, that intersection with Soldiers Home Road, from the intersection that is currently configured to a roundabout. And then likewise, the roundabout on the other side or the south side of Sagamore Parkway, they would like to do that as well. But at this time, use only local funds to do that. And that project is, looking at it 2030. So that's fairly far out. But this is a significantly large project. A lot of work needs to be done. So, beginning construction for the first phase is anticipated in 2028. And finally, for West Lafayette, we have the next section of Yeager Road. As you notice there, if you know now, traveling that area, they are working on portion of Yeager Road. This would be the last section between Calbear Road and Cumberland Avenue. And they are hoping or would like to receive federal funds for this road reconstruction. Looking at Tippecanoe County, Tippecanoe County has a lot of bridge projects, and they also have a lot of projects they would like to apply for federal funds as well. The first project is a bridge inspection project. Actually, federal funds are available for local government agencies, and typically it's counties because counties are in charge of bridges to inspect a bridge every 3 years. And this is a required mandate. So these federal funds are using are being used to actually inspect the bridges. And then the next two projects are new projects that the county would like federal funds for. One would be County Road 150 West. This would be actually, excuse me, actually, there's a typo right there, and I just saw it. It's from 500 North to 600 North. Um, some good news if you haven't heard, or if you don't know yet. If you travel Yeager Road, you will know north of West Lafayette it is gravel and has two or a couple right angle turns. Well, Yeager Road has been in the design, and actually they purchased the property to actually reconstruct it totally and take out those curves. So the game plan for it is to actually be let for construction next month. So hopefully next year, if everything goes well and construction bids are within what the engineer has estimated, we will see construction on that next year. This project would then actually take that improvement and extend it all the way to 600 North. The county is also looking at improving the intersection at 600 North at County Road 50 West. You could go to the next page. And that again, that is a new project that they're looking for federal funds. A bunch of projects following that, as you can see, are bridge projects. Fortunately, a special pot of federal funds is available for bridge improvements. And we are fortunate enough where the county or highway department has been very good about requesting those and actually getting approval for them. We're probably one in the top 10 that actually receives a good amount of these federal funds to improve our bridges. So kudos to our highway department in keeping our bridges up to snuff. They've been doing a very good job. The next project is actually a new project that the county would like to use federal funds, and they call this the Harrison Trail, and actually it's a trail system and construct trails along County Road 600 North and 50 West, basically around the three schools. And the thought about this is that they know that there are issues with, the schools. There are not enough bus drivers. And right now, there are no safe means for any children because this area is being developed to walk to the schools. So the county is looking at constructing a trail system. So in the future, when this is done, the school children can actually walk to the schools safely. The big project that has been in the works for a while, Morehouse Road, this is actually reconstructing it from Sagamore Parkway or 52, basically all the way to Mason-Dixon Road. So it's a fairly good sized stretch. And as you can see, the estimate for just constructing this is, over $10 million, nearly 12 million. So because it's so expensive, it is now going to be constructed in 2 seasons. The next project is another bridge project on North 9th Street, the bridge over the Wabash River. And an exciting footnote on this one is that when this is done, there will be a kind of a wide sidewalk, not in a, or kind of an 8-foot wide sidewalk trail that will be built on it because there is a recognized need that a hard surface trail does need to be connected from the Lafayette Trail System at least to the state park, and then also to the battlefield, the national monument. So this is another small piece to get that big puzzle put together. Next page, please. And then following out the county, they have a number of bridges that, because of funding, which changes yearly, especially what they call the Accumulated Bridge Fund, they are looking to improve these bridges. These are like the top bridges the county is wanting to do. Following that, we have information for city bus, both operating assistance and capital assistance. As you can see, to operate the system, in 2023, and they operate in a calendar year, so it's kind of a switching gears in terms of date. So, over $16 million next year to operate the system, going up to 17. And then for capital assistance, you can see that they are looking to for a lot of money. And basically, these funds are available. They also have other means to generate funding as well. And then finally, I believe the last page is just a follow up on the city bus and then the Purdue Airport. These are the only two projects that we have received yet or know of right now for the airport, but we anticipate to receive a few more, so that probably will be updated sometime in the future. So that in itself is that in itself is in a nutshell a list of the proposed projects in this new document. Now, those projects that are seeking federal funds, not all of them will, because we only, again, have a limited amount. So some of those will be put into another list that basically, if federal funds do become available, we can easily move those over and then the cities or county can start working on them. So they're kind of be in the waiting. So now I'd like to just briefly go over the state project list, and it's kind of interesting. Normally they
Actually,
have a.
Doug, but
Oh,
before we
yes.
do that, I thought this might be a good time just to
Okay.
pause for some questions.
Oh, sure.
So if
Sure.
anyone on the committee has any questions, or if we've received any questions from the stream, I'd like to just open the floor for that at this time.
I don't currently have any questions on the stream, but people watching are free to type in their comments.
Yeah, this is Gene. On the city bus, on their other projects, it's got fiscal
Mhm.
year 2019 and 2020. What does that
Yes.
mean?
These are projects that the federal funds were actually approved those years, but nothing has been done on those projects. And work has been done actually on them, but if you haven't heard or haven't realized, the whole administrative staff, including the general manager, has changed. City Bus has a new general manager that started fairly recent, and pretty much all of the administrative staff, except for one person, is new. So they are still learning the ropes and figuring out what needs to be done. So this project was actually going full steam. And the first one, of course, the big one, bus stop improvements, 6 bus stops were going to be improved. The biggest one, or the one that was going to cost the most, is actually located on State Road 38 by Payless. If you are familiar with that area right now on the south side, NDOT does not have a sidewalk along there. So we were planning to use our federal funds to not only build a pretty good sized bus stop, because this is a stop where there's a heavy demand, and it will be a large pad. It will also include other amenities such as a fairly decent shelter. And then in addition to that, it will include a sidewalk that will follow State Road 38 all the way up to Maple Point. So people living in the area on the north side of 38 can walk to the bus stop on sidewalks instead of having to walk through the grass, walk through the snow, which will be a lot better for them. So again, unfortunately, they're kind of sitting there until the city bus is in the process of actually hiring a firm to actually move these projects. So right now we have them in there because they haven't started yet. Excuse me. Excuse me. So any other questions
Doug.
on that? Yes.
Doug, this is Steve. Sorry I was late joining. You just mentioned Cumberland Avenue, that section. Are they
Yes.
planning on that small section where it's not 4-lane? I'm assuming that they'll make that 4-lane.
Yes, they are planning on it. As you can see,
With possibly some turn lanes for Walmart rather than.
well, at this point, the specific details hasn't been decided upon.
Yeah.
But as you
I'm
can
assuming they
see
were planning
here,
on widening it though.
well, that's a good possibility. We are still too early in the process to determine what specifically will happen with that, because they're looking at actually beginning this project next year so that when they start doing the engineering, that's when your questions will actually be addressed and flushed out so that hopefully by maybe the end of next year or the following year, we can answer those questions.
Okay. And you mentioned Morehouse. Are they
Uh-huh.
still planning on putting a roundabout in at where 350/Calbear is?
Yes, they are. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And that will have a trail on one side.
Thanks, Doug.
Sure. Hey, are there any other questions?
Have anything from the streams?
Okay. Well, if there's any others regarding this, if you think of, please feel free to ask. I'd like to go ahead and look at our state projects. And when you look at these, pretty much the majority of them are all related to maintenance. That's really on the top of the list of NDOT projects in our area is maintenance, maintenance, maintenance. They do have some improvements in the works. As you, of course, know that they are widening the next section of I-65. And just a bit of a factoid or information, the construction of that section was just under $100 million. Just to kind of give you an idea of how expensive widening that is, and the widening will actually go to roughly County Road 725 North. So hopefully that will be done in a couple years, and we'll have another stretch on the south side going under construction, but we will see. So anyway, I'm not going to go into quite a bit of depth on these. I'll just point out some of the major ones. You can look at them on your own time, but again, these are scattered throughout Tippecanoe County. And this is kind of an interesting layout that we're doing this year with these, because NDOT is now looking at not using um, projects individually. They're looking at combining them, and they combine them a lot. So unfortunately, there's some projects that are together, and this is how NDOT does it. So we're kind of forced to use their format on doing this rather than the format we just had with the local projects. So it may be a pinch more confusing, but if you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer those. So, we see here the first, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Doug. Is that so that they can bid them together then, or hopefully get
That
lower
is,
costs? Or
yes, yes, that is one reason why they do it, because they have found that they do get better costs. But we're now to the point where, yeah, they just would like to show it under one, but we need to show it as, like, for the first one for two projects, because we're required to show the details, and that's requirement basically right out of the federal legislation. But you're right, Steve, bidding multiple projects, especially with the same type, like, for example, deck overlays for these two projects, they can get a better price for doing these two projects together. So, but anyway, going down the first two, and you can see on 25 and 28, these are bridge deck overlays. One is just putting a thin overlay on it, basically to seal the top. The next one is on State Road 26 at 900 East. This is additional improvements to the new traffic signal that was there installed a few years back, adding from my understanding, turn lanes. The next project under that is actually new bridge construction. This is over Goose Creek, and I believe, if I remember correctly, this is on the western side of the county. The next project is, again, a maintenance project, sealing the bridge deck on State Road 26 over the south fork of the Wildcat Creek. We have a drainage ditch correction on State Road 28. The next project is, again, 38, a bridge deck overlay, if you can go to the next page. And they also have instead of scout, it should be scour. So I mistypo there, so I caught two now. On 38 over the south fork of the Wildcat Creek to prevent erosion. This is another project where they're combining a bunch into one. So as you can see, bridge deck overlays, same type of project, but at multiple locations and mostly on I-65. Going on, please. This is replacing the bridge over the Gaylord Branch on US 52. On US 52 here, another one, bridge deck overlay, and they're going to be, of course, this is over the Wabash River. And if you recall, yes, they are new bridges, but what they have found is that, after a number of years, even building a new bridge, as they add these overlays, these sealants to it, they extend the life of the bridge so much longer. So that's big on the list of things to do that NDOT likes to do. Another project here. This is an exciting one. US 52, adding auxiliary lanes if you travel south at the various locations on county roads. There's not really a good place to either slow down or make a left turn. And these are at various locations in Tippecanoe County and also in Clinton County. And then another small structure drain project on Special 52. And then as you keep looking down, another bridge project on 52. Or actually, this is a HMA overlay, which they just put like a topping over the road, again, for the longevity of the road. The next one, Project 14, Wabash Bridge or westbound bridge over the Wabash River, updating some of the superstructure underneath. The big one here that a lot of people might have some interest, or some people may have, is that, as you know, State Road 225 is now closed. That's because of the bridge, and there is work that is needed. This is that project, and the estimated time frame to start construction is at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025 calendar year wise. So it is moving forward. And then you can start seeing now more projects on I-65, updating or replacing some of the concrete at the State Road 38 interchange. The last major improvement that was done to that interchange was back when SIA was starting to roll. And then we have a small structure pipelining project, more bridge thin deck overlay projects, some road maintenance work at the Veterans Home. And then this one, Project 20, is actually an interesting project. This is actually upgrading railroad crossing, the arms, the signals, the bells, the whistle, one on Wabash Avenue and the other one at County Road 550 South. These are special federal funds. We don't request these federal funds. The Indiana Department of Transportation tracks a whole list of all of the railroad crossings. They look at the life cycle of what's out there in terms of the gates and whatnot. They look at crashes, they look at traffic volume, and then they come up with a top list of improvements that are needed. These two rose to the list, so these two rail crossings are going to receive these special federal funds. And if you notice, railroad safety is tops on federal highway lists, so they are they pay for these 100% with federal funds. There are no state funds involved, no local funds involved. So going on to the next one. Next page, please. And these are basically what we call statewide projects that there's no specific location, but they are located in various areas within. For example, the first one is signal installation and repair various signals within the Crawfordsville district. And then the other ones you see basically address the ITS, Intelligent Transportation System. So, you see these boards on the interstate that tell you, oh, there's a crash, 5 miles away or at this intersection or at this mile marker. Basically improving those, updating those, adding more so that travelers are aware of upcoming issues or problems. And again, these are for the entire state or for the district is the first one. So that's why we show them here. And I believe there's only like a couple more on the next page. Again, the same thing, one with ITS operations and the other one. Basically, what they're doing is this one, they're going to hire a consultant to do what we call NEPA support. NEPA is the National Environmental Protection Act, and with all federal aid projects, they are required to have a NEPA or environmental review. So this is actually going to hire I believe, an on-call contract so that a consultant can be hired to actually help with these NEPA reviews. So this is again basically an on-call contract and can be used on any project throughout the state. So in a nutshell, these are the major projects, both locally and on the state side, that will be coming up within the next 5 years. So you heard it first, you know what's going on. So if you have any questions, in terms of specific projects, we may be able to help answer those. But again, some of those are brand new that we've just seen since last Friday. And again, the next big milestone is actually at the tech meeting in January, where we're going to be discussing where we're going to allocate our federal funds. And just like everybody else, we only have a limited amount, so we cannot overspend it. So we are going to program every penny of those funds, and we're not going to go over those amounts. So we're going to we're going to do our due diligence in doing that. So again, you're more than welcome to attend the meeting in person or online and listen in, or if you actually have comments or want to add input, you're more welcome to do that, because this is a public process that we're doing. Again, tonight is rolling out these project lists and introducing what the community can expect or foresee in the next 5 years. So I know that's quite a bit of information here that I just went over. So if you have any questions, please ask, and I'll be more than glad to answer them. Or if you have any later on after the meeting or tomorrow or the next day, feel free to call or email. Questions, comments?
Hey, Doug, Steve again.
Yes.
One of the first ones there was a new bridge. It says new bridge construction over Goose Creek on State Road 26.
Uh-huh.
Is that replacing an existing bridge? I was just curious why it was called a new bridge. Or is there nothing? What's there now?
My guess is that the information we received was directly from NDOT, so we
Okay.
typed what they did. So, thanks for pointing that out. I'll probably have to tell them that there's a typo, that they need to fix that. But yeah, unfortunately, you are right. Yeah.
I'm assuming there's an existing bridge
Yes.
that they're
Yes, there
replacing.
is. Yes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And my other question I'm assuming that 231 north of 52 Sagamore Parkway is too far in the future for preliminary engineering on this tip, right?
Yes. That project, You are correct, Steve. Right now, before that even gets started in engineering, what we would probably do would be a corridor study, and we're still waiting for what they wanted to do with this Pell study to wind down, and that would be the next step to do a corridor study. So we are waiting on NDOT to get that Pell information, and then hopefully after that we can then jump to the next part and then move forward.
And I was looking at these on the web. I'm assuming that, I mean, you had the map out there is from another, I think it's from the transportation plan, the interactive map. So it has a lot of
Yes,
stuff on it and doesn't have the numbers. I'm assuming you'll eventually have the maps with the numbers by them so that we can tell where things are actually located.
that
That
is correct.
we're still early in the process, I'm assuming. So
Yes, you are correct. We actually, we received all of this information Friday. So between receiving all the information, putting it together, and then getting not quite all of it, making phone calls, sending emails, and trying to get it all buttoned up, we actually were able to get that completed, I believe, yesterday and get it online. So this is brand new, hot off the press, as you would hear. So
you did a lot of work in a very short period of time.
yes, you are correct. hmm But eventually, we will have maps and we will have other tables once we decide, figure out what projects we are going to fund with federal funds. We'll have an unfunded table which will list all of those projects. And then, of course, we'll recommend projects that we think NDOT should do, like what you just mentioned, 231, extending that. So,
I
Thank
did
you.
just
Great
want to
job.
Yeah, I did just want to mention real quick here something that Steve said just for the record for the stream. So these lists are available online, and we will be updating them as we receive updates. So especially after that January Technical Transportation Committee that Doug talked about, there will definitely be a major update that will go up at that time. So these are kind of living documents that we have on our website that will be updated as new information becomes available. So,
mhm,
feel free to
mhm,
keep an eye on them. Like Doug said, if you do have any questions, feel free to contact us. Probably the easiest way to do that is either a phone call to our office, or you can email us at apc@tippecanoe.in.gov,
mhm,
and we'll get you some information if you contact us. Or you can,
mhm,
come by the office if you're in the area. 20 North 3rd Street, that's our address. So, we'd love to stop by and talk to you.
mhm, mhm.
I don't currently see any comments on these streams.
Oh, looks like we have a question from Nick.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm interested in maybe somebody here could answer the question. If you, it's about the construction going on the north side of Sagamore Parkway as you go westbound into West Lafayette. You cross the Wabash River Bridge, and you see a lot of construction work on the side of the hillside
Mhm, mhm,
on the
mhm.
north side of the road. I'm assuming that project is a bicycle pedestrian trail connecting North River Road to Soldiers Home Road. Is that correct?
Yes, the that project that you see is the West Lafayette portion of the trail. As you remember, the old bridge that was on the south side, or the eastbound bridge, when it was reconstructed, a trail was built on the south side of the bridge.
Hmm.
NDOT did their part, and West Lafayette was committed to build their section on the west side. Lafayette committed to build the trail on the east side. What you are seeing now is actually the bigger of the two projects, the West Lafayette building their section of what they call the Sagamore Parkway Trail. And
Yeah.
basically that connects will connect up to that short or that trail that is near or along the ramps by the 52 Sagamore or Soldiers Home Road interchange, whatever you want to call it. And then, in companion to this, that Soldiers Home Road project that we see, that trail system will connect to that. So we're starting to build connectivity with all of these projects. Now,
Okay,
some
so
good news.
that trail will go under the Sagamore or the Soldiers Home Bridge. Is that right?
Yes, it will follow the road and then go down, come underneath, and then come back up.
Okay. Well, the essential question I have is, I wasn't involved with this myself, but some other people spent a lot of volunteer time planting native plants along the hillside. Of course, things like penstemon and the Indian grass come to mind. Other stuff too, but I don't know for sure. But was that the native planting? Was it going to be replaced to some extent? Of course, a lot of the land is going to be like paved trail, but on the sides of it where it's being graded, is there a program to replace the vegetation with something fairly native?
We have not heard whether that will happen or not, but I can tell you that when this project was in the early design phase, when they were taking input from all local governments, including us, individuals and whatnot, we did make them aware that, and even in that area, NDOT had a native planting project as well. So we did, we went through our files, we pulled out that information, that project information, and passed it along to the engineering firm. So they were well aware that that project and native plants were planted in that location or in that area.
Yeah, okay. So is there a person at NDOT who would be responsible for managing that project, or would it be the contractor or the design firm that's working on the trail?
There is a project manager. NDOT does have a project manager for it. Who it is, I don't know. That's one thing we can do is we can reach out and ask. But I will have to give all of you some news in that most of the project managers in the area here are fairly new. We recently just lost a really good one. She was with NDOT for maybe a year and a half or so, and unfortunately, a consultant realized how good she was and hired her. So unfortunately, we keep having to train new project managers.
Yeah, also the fact that the trail is going to go under the bridge, that also brings to mind, if you remember Brian Tunis, worked for West Lafayette Parks, he did a lot of work himself planting stuff at that those exit ramps, like big blue stem grass and stuff. So what you see there now is kind of his legacy too. And he's not with us now, so that's unfortunate. So okay, well that provides some information for me.
Okay, I would like to add one more thing to it. We just talked about the west side connection. I will add on the good news on the Lafayette side that the city of Lafayette did receive some next level trail funds to build their portion of the trail, and they'll build their portion of the trail from the bridge all the way to North 9th Street. So not too many people realize that, but I just wanted to add that bit of information. So once this is done, you'll have a nice connection between the two cities.
And is there an estimate about how long that'll take? What time, what year that's going to be done?
That's a good question. That probably we will have to ask the Lafayette city engineer. Matter of fact, was it a week or two ago? couple weeks ago, we actually received draft plans for it. So we do have an idea of what it will look like. And it actually does have a fairly significant tree planting along the road.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Doug, quick, since you're
Yes.
talking about that, is there on the, since it goes underneath the bridge, is there a connection to South River Road? Or, I mean, North River Road, I'm sorry, North River Road.
I believe there is, but I don't remember the plan specifically, but the intent is to, at some point, Rec has their plans to build a trail along River Road.
Right.
And the intent is to, when that happens, connect it to that, trail connection. So you even have another connection. You can go from one trail to another. So it is in the plans to do that, but whether that happens in this, I don't remember off specifically. We'd have to look at the actual construction plans.
Okay. I was just curious. Thanks.
Sure. Any other questions?
Nothing online at this time.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for allowing me to present this information to you, and I appreciate your time. So, Tim, I'm handing it back to you.
All right, great. Thank you, Doug. We really appreciate you going through all this and fielding all those questions. I know that we just threw a lot of information at everyone. So hopefully, if you missed anything, I would like to point out that this is recorded. So, you can go back and check out any projects that are of particular interest to you. So yeah, that's that. And then I guess the next thing on our agenda would be that we will take other questions, comments, and suggestions. So we typically wait at least a minute for the stream to catch up. I know that Arya just said that we don't have anything currently in the pipeline, but we will, give the stream a little bit of time to catch up, as well as take anything from the committee members. If any of you have any other questions or other topics that you would like to bring up, now is your chance. So I'll go ahead and open the floor. Okay, and while we wait just a little bit longer for the stream to catch up fully, I would like to mention our meeting dates for next year. So our first meeting will be the March 8th meeting. That will be the one that Doug pointed out, where we will have a more full update on the draft tip document. So you can look forward to that. Then we will also be meeting June 14th, September 13th, and December 13th. So those will be our 4 quarterly meetings for next year. So with that, Arya, do we have anything on the stream?
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. You wanted me to repeat the dates?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. So the first one will be on March 8th, and then we will have one on June 14th. Our third meeting will be September 13th, and our fourth and final meeting will be December 13th.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Those are all at 6 p.m. as usual, I think.
Yes, good point.
Yeah, I don't see any public comments on Facebook or YouTube this time, and it's been definitely more than a minute. So,
Okay. All right. So with that, we will go ahead and I would entertain a motion for adjourning.
So move. This is Deanna.
All right. Thank you, Deanna. And can I get a second? Jim is
I'll
seconding by
second. I'll
raising.
second.
Oh, okay. All right. We have a
I
couple
couldn't
people
find the unmute button.
who are willing to second. All right. Very good. So we'll go ahead and do a quick roll call vote. So Jim, looks like you've got your hand raised for adjournment. Thank you.
I agree.
Yep. Nick. Nick is raising his hand. Deanna. Yep, you are in
Yep.
favor. Okay, great. And Steve?
Yep.
All right, so I think that's all that we have with us. We did have a couple people that had to leave early, so that should be everyone that's still here. So thank you all again for coming tonight. And with that, we are adjourned, and we look forward to seeing you on March 8th.
Happy holidays.
Yes, same to you.
Yep. Thank you.